Hello, Packers fans, and welcome into PackersNews.com. I'm Kassidy Hill, joined by Ryan Wood. It is Thursday of the Vikings week. Packers head to Minneapolis here in a couple of days. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
I just realized I'm wearing purple right as you said that too. This
That's
was not
purple?
intentional. Don't get mad. I'm impartial.
Well, if
But
it
yeah,
makes you feel better, that's not purple. So
it doesn't look purple at all. Well, that's good. There
no,
we go.
it looks blue. It looks blue. It's okay. We'll forgive you
How about
anyways.
that? All right.
You're safe. You told on yourself, really. You
I
did
do
this
that
to yourself.
sometimes.
I know we've got assistant coaches coming here soon, so we won't keep you too long. But as we get some questions coming in here, first, just want to hear from you. We talked to AJ Dillon and Patrick Taylor today. After hearing from them, and especially from Patrick Taylor, who has sort of been in the background of this team for a while, do you feel any better, worse, more confident, less confident about their ability to replicate what Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon did on Sunday?
No, I have no idea if Patrick Taylor is going to be work out or not, but it does seem like he's going to have a part of this game plan. It's not only going to be AJ Dillon. It's going to be mostly AJ Dillon, but it does seem like Patrick Taylor is going to be a part of it. He had 2 carries for 7 yards when Aaron Jones went down late in Sunday's game. So it won't be his first NFL carries, but he's extremely new. So there's a lot that we don't know about Patrick Taylor. AJ Dillon's AJ Dillon. I do think he's going to get predominantly the load. It helps that there's 2 games to the bye. This would be the first time all season that the Packers enter with one established back. I mean, they've had AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones all season for 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to have one established back and have it be different than it was the first 10 games, it does help that bye week is coming up.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Patrick Taylor, while talking, referenced a lot his studiousness in learning the routes and what he needed to do as far as the passing game. So do you think that is how Matt LaFleur sort of rolls him into this as more of a pass catching back, so to speak?
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's possible. He's AJ Dillon when Patrick Taylor was elevated to the 53-man roster, said that he's one of the hardest workers that he's ever seen. And he took the extra step of saying, I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's not a cliche. He is actually that hard of a worker, and that his notes are so detailed. And I think that being able to prepare that way is going to help him. You've got a learning curve that you have to, when you hit this level. It's not just the emotional rush. It's not just the ability. It's you got to know what you're doing, right? And so that's going to be helpful as a basis. Then comes everything else, and that's what we don't know right now.
We do have a question here from Jim that I think is pertinent as you're moving on. How are we replacing our tight end Tunyon the rest of the season? We've seen them try thus far, and Aaron Rodgers even sort of admitted the other day he wasn't throwing DeGara under the bus, but he just said there's still. I'm paraphrasing, but he said there's still a chemistry that needs to be built there. You can't just manufacture chemistry. So do they just sort of keep pushing it and hoping it eventually clicks with DeGara? Do they start using Tyler Davis even more? Does Mercedes Lewis become the only one they trust? What do they do with that room without Tunyon?
Yeah, it'll be what you've seen, and they'll hope that as they get more time together, Aaron Rodgers and Josiah DeGuara get more on the same page. Aaron Rodgers was asked about Josiah DeGuara yesterday, and he kind of disagreed with the idea that they're not on the same page. He said that there was the one play against Seattle where Josiah DeGuara didn't pick up a scramble indicator, basically that he needed to come back to the football and come back to him and give him a target. And, the television picked up Aaron Rodgers letting Josiah DeGuara know very vehemently that he missed an indicator, and that shall not happen again.
Right.
There was the other play too, obviously the jump ball in the end zone that was intercepted. That was targeting. I guess you could say it was targeting Josiah DeGuara, although it was kind of just targeting nothing. He kind of just threw it up in the air. That wasn't really on Josiah DeGuara or anyone else who would be on the other end of that. That was a ball that Aaron Rodgers needed to eat, and he didn't. But yeah, I think that you give it time. He's a 3rd-round pick. He's a guy that they drafted very high for this specific reason, and they're going to give him a long leash. There's going to be a lot of patience there because if you're drafting a guy in the third round, you believe that he has some ability.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I should clarify when I said that Rodgers admitted that there was some lack of chemistry. It's on plays like that scramble play. That's where time comes in. You know, you spend a lot of time with a quarterback. You spend a lot of time on those sort of drills in practice. You know what he's thinking. You know what he's going to do. You know the signs to look for. So that's not a knock on DeGard. That just comes with time. That's part of the struggle of when you're thrust in there for a guy who you weren't expecting to lose. Interesting comment here from Steve. This will be the Queen's Super Bowl. Rodgers will have to be sharp. Time for a big game from the offense. I know that at least on the college level, which is where I've spent a lot of time, there's always the old adage: you throw the history book out, you throw the record books out when it comes to rivalry games. Do you do that here? Is this a big enough game to justify that thought?
I think so. I mean, it doesn't hurt that the Vikings are not bad. Now, the Vikings and the Packers have had like two similar seasons that have been very different. The Packers have won a lot of close games this year. The Vikings have lost a lot of close games this year. In this league, good teams win close games and bad teams lose close games. I mean, it's the ability to make the play or two at the end that to get the result, the outcome that you want that separates those two types of teams, right? So if this game is close, you're seeing a Packers team that has won a lot of close games against a Vikings team that has lost a lot of close games. The Packers have an edge in that type of situation, even if it's on the road, even if there's actually crowd noise at US Bank Stadium, something that wasn't the case last year. It's a game that could be close, but the Packers will feel very comfortable in that environment.
Now, Peter asked, when is Alexander due back? That seems to have been the question of the month. And then Jim asked, will the lack of people at outside linebacker start to hurt the great play of the Packers defense? Before we move on to either of those, and I think that'll sort of wrap us up, I'll just run through this quick injury report. Devontae Adams did move to a full participant today. David Bakhtiari did not participate still. Rashawn Gary was a limited participant. And then, of course, Aaron Jones did not participate. Kingsley Keke limited. Kevin King limited with a groin shoulder. Alan Lazard did not participate with a shoulder. Mercedes Lewis did not participate as part of vet rest. Aaron Rodgers, another day of did not participate. Darnell Savage, limited participant with an ankle. I'm just kind of pointing out some of the defensive guys, especially Eric Stokes, full participant again. And then MVS, limited participant with a hip. But Rashawn Gary is the one that stands out to me and sort of can reference, Jim's question there. That's huge. If he can, do you expect him to be ready by Sunday, I guess is the question.
Matt LaFleur said that the early part of today's practice was going to be in pads, and we saw Rashawn Gary out there with this monster of a brace over his right elbow, and that this early padded portion would give them, he hoped, a good indicator of whether he could go Sunday with that brace. So we'll have to see, but there's no question that Rashawn Gary is giving it a try. I mean, he is attempting to play, and if he's attempting to play this week, barring any setback, if he doesn't play this week, which it seems possible, even better chance that he'll be able to play next week. So they really dodged one there. There's no question that, not having Rashawn Gary, the outside linebacker depth gets really thin after that. It's Preston Smith, and, they promoted Tipa Galea. Jonathan Garvin's been okay as a depth guy, not a guy that's gotten through an entire game. So they need Rashawn Gary back as quick as possible. Kassidy, we should mention, third straight practice that David Bakhtiari has not participated. Matt LaFleur said last week that it's not a setback for David Bakhtiari. Remember that the Packers listed him as doubtful, which means that they thought he had at least a 25% chance of playing last week, and they did not rule him out. So the fact that he hasn't practiced on Wednesday and Thursday, it's alarming. Matt LaFleur was asked today if he thought that David Bakhtiari might not return this season. He said, I sure as heck hope he does. Matt LaFleur did not say yes. Those are two different things.
But he didn't say no.
He didn't say no either, but he didn't say yes. That doesn't mean that he won't, but it was surprising that he didn't say yes, that it was I sure as heck hope.
Right.
So wait and see there, but that's certainly it's a thing. I mean, he's missed 3 straight practices now in this recovery from a torn ACL.
Along those same lines, Linda Asher would be worried about Rodgers not practicing as far as being in shape. I don't even know if it's so much the in shape. When you're an athlete, you can sort of, stay. It's easier to stay in that shape. I'm not using my words correctly there. What I would be worried about as far as him missing, and I'm going to ask your opinion on if you agree, is Matt LaFleur admitted after the Seahawks game that he's a vet. He knows what to do. He knows how to prepare. But there is usually a certain package of plays that you have for a certain opponent that you can't put in when your quarterback hasn't practiced all week. If he goes through this entire week without practicing yet again, that's going to be the case again on Sunday and without Aaron Jones.
Makes it an awfully similar situation. Now, I wonder if Aaron Rodgers might get out there and they have potentially a lighter Friday practice and able to do some walkthroughs. We'll have to see. I gotta say, the fact that he hasn't practiced since November 1st and he's coming off COVID-19 and he's not practicing again this week. Aaron Rodgers admitted that he was exhausted after the game against Seattle. I think that conditioning, not having practiced for almost 3 weeks now, not having done anything, having that illness, I think that's significant. And so I'll be very interested to see if there's any carryover there Sunday, because Aaron Rodgers made very clear he will play. Even if he doesn't practice this week, he is going to play in Minnesota. He said, I'll definitely play. You saw a really tired, you saw a really rusty, a gassed Aaron Rodgers against Seattle. Will that be the same case on the road at US Bank Stadium against a Vikings defense with Mike Zimmer that has given him a lot of problems over the years? I think that's something to watch.
Last thing, and I know you've got to get to assistant coaches, so just last thing, Todd comments, special teams better be special. They haven't really been thus far. If this is a close game, as the Vikings and, as you've said, the Packers tend to get into, it's going to have to come down to special teams, wouldn't it? And if that's the case, you give the Packers the edge there.
Yeah, at some point they need to make a field goal look like it's not an adventurous trip and
right.
a routine, stroll across the other side of the road or so. Field goals are not supposed to be exciting. Mm-hmm. They're not. They're supposed to be dull. They're supposed to be ordinary and routine. And it's been anything but that for this Packers field goal operation. So, kicking indoors should help. That it's a friendly confines from that standpoint. But they've also struggled in their protection. So if they can't, if the crowd noise or anything hurts that getting off the ball and being able to protect, that's something to watch. Yeah, at some point they've got to make that a whole lot better than it's been. They've missed 7 field goals, 8 kicks overall with an extra point. That's a lot. That's a whole lot to not have go right.
Yeah. Well, we will be there for you through it all. Come hell or high water. Stick with Packers news from now up through Sunday, and we will be in Minneapolis as well to bring you a full report as the Packers get ready to take on the Vikings. Ryan, thanks so much.
Absolutely. Take care.